Josh Appleman, founder and CEO of Appleman Properties. Today I'm joined with K. Trevor Thompson, based in Austin, Texas, is a seasoned real estate investor in 31 syndications, aiming to guide 1,000 to financial independence, 1,000 people to financial independence. He's now VP of Investor Engagement at Massive Capital. Trevor, we're excited to have you on the show today. If you could let the audience know a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm excited to be here. I'm originally from Niagara Falls, Canada. I spent most of my life in the entertainment attractions world, starting at Ripley's Believe It or Not at age 13. Did that all through high school, then Guinness World Records, moved to United States, and then got recruited by iFly Indoor Skydiving and did 20 years with them. Started my real estate investing journey about 5.5 years ago as a passive investor.
That's incredible. And now you're in 31 syndications. So how many units does that equate to?
So it's about 2,500 units. I've got several investments outside of multifamily. So I have two retail, two land development, new build storage, and a medical center up just outside of Dallas. So I've been a little bit diversified in my portfolio just to kind of balance everything out.
Yeah, no, that's great. And you've got the experience on a limited partner side as well as a general partner side. Can you tell us the difference and then how you came to migrate over to the general partner side?
Yeah, so I was very interested in it. I was actually joined a local mentoring program. I was a passive investor on a deal and then wanted to learn some more. So I became a volunteer assistant to an asset manager who I actually found out wasn't doing a very good job as asset manager. And I was a volunteer replacement for that asset manager. And I really enjoyed it. And then the final decision was, as many people during COVID, I got let go. And I said, I'm really loving this real estate stuff. Let me get a little more focused on it. And then been doing it on a full-time basis for about 15 months now. But the majority of my successes come in the last year doing 8 deals with Massive Capital.
Wow, that's incredible. And tell us about how that relationship came to exist. Was it
Yeah,
at a
it's a,
meetup?
it's a, it's a great story. So my very first passive investment was with one of the principals of Massive Capital. So he was in our mentoring program. I actually made my first two passive investments with him, both multifamily, one in San Antonio, one in Houston. And then, I kind of moved on and did other things. And he actually took a little break for some family matters. And then we came back together and started trying to take down deals. And then he joined Massive Capital. I got jealous and said, "Can I come and join you guys? I love what you're doing." Because we're doing more than syndications. So our goal is to create a real community. Hence, I was able to make up my own name, VP of Investor Engagement. We do weekly webinars. We have a ladies group. We do a lot of things that we think add value to the community more than just doing different syndication deals.
Yeah, that's great. You get a lot of people together in one room, and you can take down a large asset and enjoy the cash flow, enjoy the benefits of owning real estate. And as a large group, you can do it again and over.
Yeah,
And you're building camaraderie by doing the events and doing the meetups within the community itself.
yeah.
That's huge. Um, tell us some learning lessons that you've went through your career so far.
Yeah, so definitely the learning lessons are the more I learned about it, the more I understood how the who is more important than the what. And I'll describe that. So, who you give your money to is very important. So, make sure that you spend the time. We all talk about know, like, and trust, but I'm talking do a little more deep dive, get to know them. You're going to be in a relationship with them as a partner for up to 5 years or more, and so you want to really understand, you want to look at what they're doing. So, for example, my best investment to date came after I watched a webinar with a group that talked about a deal that didn't go so good and all the lessons they learned. And you would think, oh, why would you talk about what went bad? But to me, it was actually very inspiring that they shared their lessons learned. They wanted us to learn. And so I invested with them. Just super important to be able to get it. Again, nobody could have estimated that interest rates would do what they did, right? nights. So that was a surprise to the entire world. But definitely I've learned the advantage of fixed rate debt, and knowing what your debt is going to be on a property has become kind of my new hot thing to look at. And I would say the next big lesson is don't believe all the hype. If a deal looks too good to be true, it probably is. I always say my mama said if it's too good to be true, it probably is. And she was a wise woman. So look for deals that have realistic expectations. Don't chase, oh, we're going to triple your money, we're going to give you a 12 pref, because those ones are just very difficult to deliver on.
Yeah, and they're nonsensical really because they're typically based off of a future value with a cap
Yeah,
rate that doesn't even belong with that asset class, like a 1970s vintage selling at a 5 cap.
yeah,
Anything in my opinion sub 6 cap is reserved for brand new and in core locations, but that's just me. I'm sure
yeah.
other people out there that would continue to buy would say otherwise, but
And
um,
I've been fortunate that in my volume investments, I've been able to create some diversification. So most of them are in Texas, where I'm based, most of my investments, but I have investments in Tucson, Arizona, Denver, Colorado, North Carolina, and Georgia. And so I was able to be diversified a little bit by geography. I was also able to diversify by asset class. So I'm everything from a C, deep value add, to a
yeah.
new build, A plus. And so I've got to experience the different buckets of real estate because they all perform differently. And then a little diversity with some retail, medical center. And I didn't really like the buy mom and pop storage units and automate them. I went for a new build. But again, also that was in a different market that I hadn't invested in to date. And I just wanted just a little bit of diversity in my portfolio. And I also was very careful to balance it out a little bit. So some things are safer than others, right? So triple net retail is safer than certain other things because a lot of the expenses are passed over to the landlord. My medical investment, it's a double guaranteed triple net lease. The returns are lower, but it's going to come like clockwork because of the structure of it. So, trying to go for those home runs, but try to get a couple of singles and doubles in your portfolio, and that helps you be a little balanced, and also balanced on time. Some of the new build deals are 3 years. Some of the multifamily deals are in retail are 7 years.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And I like the 1970s and 80s vintage, the C class value add, because there can be a lot of value that's created if you buy it right. If you
Yeah,
buy it on a future value, you've just given up all the equity to the sellers who've sold it to you on a future value. You
yeah,
still have to go through all the motions to get there, but for coupon clipping and a steady return, definitely stick to core plus, and you're
yeah.
going to get a lower return, but your risk adjusted return is nominal as well.
So much better. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So tell us what the Massive Capital, are you all relying on third party property management, or what does the back office look like?
Yeah, so we definitely rely on third-party property management, but ours is a little bit different. That we do have a finance department. They're actually based in India as a virtual office, and we do the opposite of what a lot of people do. So we actually every Monday morning run reports on all of the properties, look at all of our KPIs, look at everything, and we in turn send that information to our property managers and say, on our call, we would like the answer to the following questions, which is a little bit different than them presenting, you asking the questions, and you're now a week behind on the reply. So we've really been able to do that, and it's added a lot of value. And of course, we don't know the nuances of Sally's apartment and Joe's, trash problem or whatever, but you really get a high level view at the economics. What are our upcoming leases? What is this looking like? What is our delinquency? Where are we going? And so you get these big levers, and instead of waiting for somebody to report, you're asking for an answer to you've already found the answer. You want to know, how did we get here and what are we doing to fix getting there? So that's been really interesting for me to see. I've never experienced that before. It's new within the last 6 months that we had it developed.
Yeah. So you all have an asset management office that's, you said, virtual. Everyone.
That's correct, and it's basically they do the finance, and then and each of our assets has we have partners. So we have partners in Denver, we have partners in North Carolina, we have partners in markets where we're not. So they're the boots on the ground actually doing it. But they find this super helpful where they'll get this information and be able to act on it and do different things on it. But we've always used third-party property managers still. Even though we like this concept of we're going to control everything, you're only as good as yourself. And a third party that manages a couple of thousand doors in a market, and you've got a small percentage of those doors, they can really dial in what's happening locally. There's a lot of expertise in their regional manager, their on-site manager, and we feel you would miss that if you self-managed. You would only, again, be as good as yourself, where they can say, hey, listen, we got a property across town and we just tried this, or we went to this event, or we did that, and we got this success factor. We like that synergy, and being able to challenge them, and also just to be a good partner with them and let them try things. So we found
Yeah.
that works out really well.
Yeah, and there's a pari passu sense of management as well, shoulder to shoulder. That way, you become extension of their team. They're an extension of your team. So your team essentially gets bigger, and they have a level of expertise and economies of scale with their
Yeah.
existing infrastructure as well. They can plug in more units, take it over at a professional level, and get it to where it should be. Hopefully, I think
Yeah.
that there's definitely, depending on the larger units, the larger properties, the third-party property management becomes more prevalent because of the size of the property. When you're in the smallers, the scattered sites, it becomes tougher to find the level of property management that you would on that you all are dealing with, just because of your smaller property management companies can't afford the resources that the larger ones can. So the
Yeah.
economies of scale again come into issue.
Yeah, and economies of scale is a big thing, right? You going into a market and trying to find a good paint guy, a good flooring guy, a good roofing guy. Again, if they're managing a couple of thousand doors, they all got roofs, they all got doors, they all got bathrooms, and they fixed them before, and they've gone through all the cycles, and so they just have a better pool of people for you to bring in and get that work done at a more reasonable time. And again,
Yeah.
time is money, right? When an apartment's down and you're renovating, and if you can shave a week or two off and get it leased back up, that's huge, huge.
How does that work with you all? Say that you all have underwritten, call it $2 million of capex spend that you want to invest into a property in order to get the rent bumps that your performance desires. How do you work that out with the money? Does the property management invoice you all as the syndication firm? Do they invoice the bank?
So we do a blended. It's invoiced to us, but we also manage. So like we just closed on a property and it has significant capex, and we pulled a lot of the big ticket items off of the property management company and manage those ourselves. But yes, and on those particular ones, right, that are agency debt, and they held reserves, you have to do the work, fund the work, show that it's done, and then get reimbursed. Biggest lesson ever learned is don't expect them to do that quickly. So make sure that you still have some other reserves that you can use while you're waiting to get paid back. And then obviously make sure that you document what you're doing very well. The better your documentation, the quicker the paperwork turns around. Because at the end of the day, if you don't provide it all, it's just a really, I'm on one property and we videoed all the down units down and then renovated, showing the door numbers and everything, and just included a little YouTube link saying, here's before, here's after, here's before, here's, and I was shocked how that was very helpful for them, because they didn't have to look through a bunch of photos and say, well, what about this, that plug, something like that.
Yeah, no, that's huge. And if you have it in your folder divided up per unit, it's very tedious because it truly is, because it pulls you into the weeds, but it is so important to have well documented before and after.
Yes.
I mean, you can't argue with the video with the door numbers going in and showing
Yeah.
the different angles. Plus, it's great content. I mean, the before and after in some of these properties is just beyond belief. And
Yeah.
it's like the property's been sitting there like this for a long time, and all it took was somebody to come along and spend the right amount of money to make it into a great looking property for the
Yeah.
residents again.
Yeah.
And the tenants appreciate it. They enjoy it, enjoy pulling up to it, and certainly enjoy living in it for sure. Um, what would be a piece of advice that you would give somebody that's not sure if they want to go LP route or if they want to do the GP route? Because I know that you have to keep one thing in mind: keep the main thing the main thing. Meaning, if you're
Yes.
making money being a doctor, you don't want to stop being the doctor and go into real estate. So, what piece of advice would you give?
Yeah, so I always encourage people to stay a passive investor for as long as they can. And the reason I say that is so that they can continue to reinvest their profits. They don't need it to live. So I'll give you an example. I put $100,000 in the deal. I got to wait 5 years to make another 100. And then if I live off that 100, I still only have 100 to invest. But the way I like to do it is start it with 100, double it in 5 years to two, double it to eight, double it to 1.6 million, double it to 3.2 million, because I don't have to pull it out to live off of it. And that is super powerful, right? If you think about it, one investment 25 years later being worth something like $3 million. But if you have to live off of it, it's not going to. Now, there are some advantages clearly on a tax basis if one of the spouses can become a professional real estate person. Again, I've got a friend, he's a doctor, and he's head of a massive department. He's earning a great income and he loves what he's doing. But he started a real estate company. They own like 3,000 doors now. His wife manages the real estate side of it. And all of a sudden, he went from paying like $150,000, $200,000 in taxes to none. Plus, they're making money. So again, there are definitely advantages of it. But he really understood that, and he's reinvested everything he's earned pretty much because he doesn't need to live off of it because he still has it. So I definitely tell people that is, stay as long as you can and then get into partnerships where, yes, you have boots. I believe boots on the ground need to be full time. That's a personal thought, right? The person who is responsible for that asset needs to be able to take that emergency phone call and deal with whatever happens or whatever. So somebody on the team needs to be full time, but the rest of the team does not need to be full time. You can balance it out. But whoever's the asset manager, I believe, should be full time.
Yeah, for sure. Because the property is full time. I mean, and that's just people out there are full time. The needs happen. So that's sometimes you got to take those calls that you don't want to take, but that's life in any profession at any given time. Those calls will come.
Yeah.
And real estate is definitely a very active industry, and it's a whole niche on its own. And anything worth doing doesn't come easy for sure.
Yeah.
So you're in a ton of syndications. You have a massive, I'm going to say a massive portfolio. It's well diversified. What does the future look like? How far do you want to take it?
Yeah, so my goal is I'm turning 65 this year. My goal is to keep doing it. And then, my ultimate plan is eventually that I'm going to de-risk and balance everything out eventually for my estate. So my ultimate goal is to keep going, build a sizable portfolio, and then eventually move that into where I'm just a triple net landlord. So the way I call it is I want to be Walgreens dirt. I want to own Walgreens dirt, let them lease it off of me. My heirs don't have to worry about doing any work. It's a stable cash flow. It's not the sexy, 20% returns that double your money in 5 years, but it's nice, consistent cash flow. So my ultimate goal is to just set it up to where and those are definitely no work, right? You just lease some land for 30 years to somebody and have my estate eventually own it. That's my ultimate goal. The step before that is I'm hoping to get to the point where my skill set and net worth, I can get more of be a KP experience level on a deal And then, you know, I'm not a young guy, but I'm still chasing a lot of the work side of it and just help other people get to the next level. So
Yeah.
that's kind of my 5-year plan.
Yeah, they call the KP is the uh, country or country club of real estate. You
Well,
get to the club, you sign on debt. Yeah.
it is a great place to be, other than some of these loans now that have gone wonky because of the interest rates.
Yeah.
It's not a good place to be, but it definitely is. And I also see it as my next evolution of empowering people to get going, you know, to help deal. And again, all of our deals out of state are with groups that we're helping them go to the next level. So the principles of massive capitals are the KP. We normally only raise about a third of the money needed. They'll raise the other 2/3 of the money. They're managing the asset and reporting back to massive capital and to the team. So it's a very good synergistic way for us to create multiple levels of financial freedom.
And that's a great partnership if you've got an operator in X area and massive capital can come in, KP alongside the GP team, and then you've got a powerhouse GP team.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of energy and experience in that on that side's huge. I like that. I like that a lot. Very cool. And the as far as leasing back the land, triple net, absolute triple net, whatever it may, absolute's the absolute. But man, that's a great strategy as well. It's just you never know where the path of progress goes. Well, you can catch trends, but the path of progress can go in many different directions. And if you can catch a piece of land where you can lease it out to someone who's wanting to put a building on top of your land, that's
Yeah,
huge.
and the beauty of it is, I'm not that I'm an accountant, so but if I can 1031 out of something and buy that dirt, and then let's say I can buy a $5 million piece of dirt, and hopefully I live 20 more years and it's worth 20 million, and it goes to my estate, they actually inherited it to step up value. So you're talking about making several $1 million worth of net worth gains that would go to the estate at a tax-free value. That's where again this power of continually growing and thinking forward. How can, you know, it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep that counts,
Yeah.
right? And so if I can create an event now, obviously after I pass away and they inherit it, they'll have new stepped up values and tax complications. But again, you know, inheriting a piece of land that's worth $10 million that nobody's paid any taxes on is pretty powerful.
Oh yeah, that's on the balance sheet, so that's not even realized gains, but
Yeah,
it's that could be used in many different forms and ways for sure to buy. The more
yeah,
real estate you buy, the more you can buy. It's
that's right.
compounding. It's
Yeah, they're not making any more dirt.
yes, yeah. That's I've got a couple pieces myself, and it's just you can just wait and hold and just let things happen, let things come along, or choose to improve the land by putting some structure on the top, and I mean you can also lease the land back to your estate,
Yeah.
and I mean it can go on a 100-year lease. And that's the cool thing about real estate. There's so many different strategies, and the community is willing to just help rise other people up and
Yeah.
keep the growth. What are some books that you would recommend to listeners?
Yeah, so it depends where you are in your journey. So if you're looking to be a passive investor, there's a book by James Kamasami about passive investing. I highly recommend that book for passive investors. If you're looking to syndicate, Joe Fairless's best ever syndication book. You know, they produce a lot of good content. Brian Burke also has a really good hands-off investor. So there's definitely a couple of really good books. If you're just looking to powerhouse your life, I always say listen to Audible, Grant Cardone's 10X,
Yeah,
and follow it by Be Obsessed or Be Average. Nobody can listen to both of those Audibles and not have something dramatic change in their life. I listen to it for 3 years now, twice a year. Just start my year, and I get a middle of my year just to reset my expectations to 10X my life.
yeah. I think that's the ticket is when you go back and listen to it again and then again. The nuggets, because you can't connect all the dots, and
Yeah,
once you experience something different, now this over here starts making more sense to you. And that's a lot of different books.
yeah,
There's one called Turning Pro I've listened to 3 times now, and it's deep, and it is truly deep. It's a very cool book, and it's taking yourself to the next level in many different forms. Grant Cardone's inspiring in himself too with the things that he does.
Yeah, cool. I love listening to him on Audible because I'm not buying real estate from the man. He's done well, but I definitely buy him the 10x stream and the be obsessed or be average is really the explanation of 10x.
Yeah, no, I love it. If a listener wants to get a hold of you, possibly invest with you alongside of you, how can they reach out?
The best way is on LinkedIn. So you got to remember the K Trevor Thompson, and just say you saw me on the podcast. Love connecting with people. I try to post some things that always add value. That's my goal every day, to post something of value. So that's the best way to reach me.
Awesome. Very cool. I've been following you for a while. I will continue following you. I like to see the growth, and we will certainly talk soon.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.